Okay, now we're live. Hello, Mr. Dubravko. Welcome. Thank you once again for agreeing to do this chat with us. I know you have a busy schedule.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's really nice to be here. Thank you.
Nice, nice. Let's start at the beginning, basically. Let's start by introducing you and what is it that you know about Croatia? I mean, I know, but our subscribers don't yet.
Mhm. So I'm a tour guide now for last more than 10 years, and I also have my own company, which
Hmm.
provides private, bespoke, very personalized tours, private tours for small groups like families, friends, something. So like from one to maybe I don't know, 14 people was the maximum in my
Hmm.
groups. And But I wasn't a tour guide from ever. Actually, I have
Hmm.
totally different background. I was actually working in marketing as a copywriter, but that was probably
Oh.
too much stress and different things. So I decided to work some other things. As a actually young kid, actually I started to work on the radio. So I used to work
Hmm.
on the radio for a long time, and then one day, and that was approximately, it was almost 15 years ago, a little bit less. um, Friend of mine, he said to me, you work on the radio, and probably you can imagine, Nicola, what could be the
Hmm.
the, the biggest the top one skills that if you work on the radio. What do you think? What's the top one skill?
Being a good speaker, I would say.
Big talk, man. Yeah, this is what people
Public
think. Yeah.
speaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what people think. So he said, yes, you would like to talk. Maybe you can talk with our guests because they need someone just to follow the guest from Zagreb to Split to another town
Hmm.
and to spend the time with them. So I accepted it. I liked it. And it was really great experience for me. And then the rest is the history. So I become
Yeah,
tour
yeah.
guide, and yeah, now I'm working in the field for, uh, as I said, as a tour agency more than 10 years, and even more as a tour guide. And also I'm a certified trainer for
Hmm.
interpretive guides. So this is also another thing which I'm also doing, which I think is very important. Another, not just skill, it's actually approach, um, that actually we make things more understandable, or actually that everything which our guests face for the first time in their life make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So
one, yeah.
senior tour guide basically guiding other tour guides how to be better at their job.
Also, yeah, this is also what I'm doing. Yeah, but this is like
Nice,
specialized course for interpretive guides. Yeah, yeah.
nice, nice. So we're really lucky to have you then. So
We'll
you're a
see.
native of Zagreb, right?
Yes, I was, as Americans says, born and raised in
Born and
Zagreb.
raised.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. So is the Zagreb area your area of expertise, or basically encompasses the whole of Croatia?
Okay, as a provider of private tours, of course, I organize tours all around Croatia. For the
Hmm.
parts of Croatia that I'm not licensed as a tour guide, I have local guides that I use, but I
Hmm.
have actually a license for 6 different regions in Croatia. But Zagreb is my number one region because I was born here, and this is actually the area that probably, I hope, I know the most. And yeah, that's basically, so Zagreb is my hometown, and I still live here. Yes.
Nice, nice, nice. So the way I actually got in contact with you was I found your Secrets of Zagreb tour.
Secrets and Legends, like that's
Secrets
one
and
of the
Legends.
tours.
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
thematic tours. Yes, that I have in Zagreb. It's not the only one. I also have some specialized tours like wine and dine. Something like
Mm-hmm.
wine tour.
Mm-hmm.
But this tour is not only about Zagreb. Actually, we stay in Zagreb all the time. And I said, because we don't tour around Croatia, I said, let wine tour your mouth. So actually,
Okay.
trying wines from different parts of Croatia, we actually learn or get more familiar with Croatia, because Croatia has 4 big wine regions, and it's
Mhm.
really interesting actually how things are totally different. And this is what
Yeah.
I like the most if we talk about Croatia: diversity of such a small point on earth, and you have
Mm-hmm.
so many different things all around. Yeah.
Yeah, such a small surface area and yet such diverse places and regions. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about the four wine regions of Croatia?
Of course, I can tell you. So these four wine regions we divide by. I mean, we make the difference because of the type of the soil
Mm-hmm.
which we have in different parts of Croatia. Dominantly, it's not the only one type of the soil, but let's say it's dominantly. So
Mm-hmm.
let's start from one side of Croatia. So it's eastern flat part of Croatia. That part of Croatia has dominantly black soil.
Mm-hmm.
Not so many hills, okay, small hills, not some bigger hills or mountains or something like that, and very specific climate because Croatia also had four different climate
Yeah,
zones,
yeah,
which
that's
also
true. That's also
make things very interesting in such a small area, which is okay for Americans. Maybe they will be more familiar with it. It's the size of West Virginia, you know, so it's very
ah,
very small country. Okay, it will not be the smallest one in USA, for example, but it's a very small country compared to other countries in the world. And but we have four different climates. So eastern part of Croatia, it's continental climate, but black soil. Then you have northwestern part of Croatia, which is area around Zagreb, my hometown. Here, dominantly is clay, rolling hills. So it's different type of
mm-hmm.
terroir, as you say usually in wine culture, and it's again it's continental climate. Then in the middle of Croatia we have mountain climate, which that's the part that we usually don't produce wines. And then on the coast, we
Yeah,
have northern part of the coast, where is the biggest peninsula, Istria, and that area, a little
yeah.
bit southern than that. Yeah, we have dominantly red soil, and it's already
Mm-hmm.
Mediterranean climate. And then we have Dalmatia on the south of Croatia, where dominantly we have rocks. So
Yeah,
grapes
it's
grow.
mostly rocky in Dalmatia. Yeah.
Yeah, so grapes grows from rocks. So of course there are different types of grapes, different number of sunny hours, different
Mm-hmm.
type of soil, different climate. So all these things affects that we have so big variety of wines. We have around 140 different type of just local varieties of grapes,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
really crazy for such a small
yeah,
country. And
yeah.
plus, of course, many of these worldly known types like I don't know Cabernet Sauvignon or I don't know Chardonnay or different types. But we have also some many local varieties, which is also very interesting for all people who visit Croatia.
Yeah,
So those
yeah.
are four regions basically, but we have sub regions. So it's very very
It's very
interesting.
subtle, actually. It's
Yep,
the
yep.
whole science behind wine growing is very layered and subtle.
Yep.
But
And
yeah,
then with wine, usually we pair food. So Croatia is also about diversity of the food. It's about diversity of the food, and almost every village when you go, they have different specialties or different type of the food. So we have this worldly known Mediterranean cuisine, but also we have some other types of cuisine. So basically, and you know that for sure, there is no one national dish
yeah,
because
yeah,
every part of Croatia is different.
yeah. It's
So this
going.
is also what makes traveling around very very interesting. Every day is different actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I hear also from basically from my guests also that they've only traveled through not even the whole of Croatia, just a part of it, and they're like, wow, we it feels like we've been through three different countries already instead of just
Yeah, yeah.
staying in the one. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let me ask you
And
a little bit more. Go ahead, go ahead.
no, no, I just wanted to say you see how much I am in the food and the wine.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that we have, of course, olive oil, truffles, oysters, different types of dishes based on different
Yeah,
types of meat or fish or even vegetables. I'm joking, you know. Recently, I had some people from India, very
mm-hmm.
specific part of India, and they're very special type of vegans, very special type of. So first time I saw it, but anyway, I spoke with them about the local food, traditional food in Croatia, and I say to them, but you know, we were also vegetarians, you know, and they were surprised. How is that possible? Because we see meat everywhere. Yes, but poor people in the past, they couldn't afford
Yeah, they could
meat.
afford meat. That's right.
Yes, so that's why they were vegetarians. But because of
Yeah,
the,
yeah. So they came up with
poor.
different vegetarian dishes and meat-free dishes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
no,
was good.
Croatians love their food, and they love take their time preparing it and
Mhm.
sitting around the table enjoying it. It's a whole social event for either a
Or
family gathering or some friends, and so yeah, it's a very important part of the culture.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice. Could you tell us a little bit more about Zagreb? Let's say
Mhm.
as a destination for many people, it's usually where they land or where they take off from back to their home country. So, how many days would you say is enough, or a good amount of days to visit Zagreb? And what are some things that they shouldn't miss?
Mhm. Yeah, Zagreb is the capital city, so that could be one of the reasons, and the second reason, maybe the biggest airport. Two
Hmm.
reasons why usually people land here.
Yeah,
But then,
yeah.
if you Google Croatia, of course, you see the pictures of the sea and the coastline and this. So that's why
Hmm.
people mostly go on the coast. And most of our tourists actually are summertime tourists who just go on the coast. I always joke, I say they spend 2 weeks on the beach, 1 week on the belly, one big week on the backside, just
Big
taking the
on the
sun.
back, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And
they
go.
leave with some, sunburns first degree, and that's their memories from Croatia. I've known a few tourists like this, yeah, also.
Yeah, yeah. But now more and more we have tourists who like to discover, because they found out that we have so many UNESCO World Heritages, so many national parks, culture. I mean, everything,
History,
what
yeah.
anything, yeah, anything what happened in Europe, actually, you have some traces of it in Croatia. So
Hmm.
from,
Hmm.
I don't know, Greeks, and even before, of course, and until modern days. So you really have a lot of layers of history as well. So if you like history, you have many things. If you like nature, also you have many options. So that's why people, more and more lately, in the last 5-10 years, more and more, they start to
Hmm.
discover around. So Zagreb also then become a little bit bigger on that map of
On the
interest
map,
of the
yeah.
people. Yeah. One of the things which really makes Zagreb very, very successful in that was the um, Advent,
The
the
Christmas market, yeah.
Christmas market, the festivals that we have in December, actually even till January the 6th,
Hmm.
because we have really extended version of that Christmas market. And because we won 3 times in a row the number one, as
Yeah,
number
yeah,
one, top one Christmas market in Europe,
yeah.
uh, in that competition of Germany, France, and all these
Yeah, yeah.
famous
With all
places.
those beautiful cities, and Zagreb came out on top. That was really something, yeah.
They changed the rules after we won 3 times in a row. They said who won three
Oh,
times in a row cannot compete anymore. So
for
we
like
cannot.
the next few years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So that's one of the things which makes Zagreb, actually put Zagreb on the map as a big thing. So even the official number says that. You asked me how many days is good to stay in
Hmm.
Zagreb. So before was, the average stay was 0.9 nights. So that means
Okay,
that,
so not
we
even
have
one whole night.
yeah, yeah. So people just land and some other place. And now it's more than 2 nights, 2-3 nights. And this is
Hmm.
what I think which could be enough for Zagreb and maybe even some surrounding area, because you have some places in northwestern Croatia which are less than an hour of driving time, like
Hmm.
that famous Trakošćan castle, wine region, some other small places around Zagreb, like Samobor or some other places, and Zagreb itself. Zagreb is really beautiful town, which we can say have, like, let's say, three main parts. One is upper town, then we have lower town, and then new part of Zagreb, which is maybe the less interesting for tourists. But upper town, which is the oldest part of Zagreb,
Hmm.
which is 1,000 years old,
Yeah.
um, is probably the most attractive place. And then we can come to these secrets and legends, because we have many, many interesting things
There
to
are so
show.
many.
Yeah, many things we cannot explain. So that's why we invented many, many legends during the time. which
Yeah,
makes
that's
things
true.
very
Yeah.
which makes things very interesting. And yeah, that's one of the tours that actually I make, which usually happened mostly in that upper town, because, as I said, there are many attractions and many places like Stone Gate or Cathedral, which, okay, now at the moment is not possible to be visited because of the earthquake that we had several few years ago.
Hmm.
But basically, upper town is really some old town which was up on the hills. Actually, two towns at the beginning. Actually, the beginning of Zagreb were two towns which were not in the best relationships. They were
With each other,
fighting
yeah, but,
yeah,
yeah.
each other. So that's why we have another interesting point which people can Google also about is Bloody Bridge. And
Okay.
many stories about that. And these fights caused many things. But then we had some miracle which happened almost 300 years ago, and that miracle caused that actually these two cities become as one. And from that point, we start to talk about Zagreb as
Zagreb
one
as a
city.
town,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Any chance I can talk you into sharing one of those legends without discovering too much about the tours that you do, or so, just to make it as intriguing as possible.
Yeah, it's very hard, if you're not on the place, because it's much better if you can involve
Yeah,
many other
of course, yeah.
more, not just hearing something. But okay, I will try to share one which is not very old, which is
Mm-hmm. Thank you,
140
brother.
years old legend. Yeah,
Okay.
um, I said that a few years ago we had an earthquake, but 140 years ago we had bigger earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
And that morning after that happened, because it happened early in the morning around 7 o'clock, and of course all people went in the streets. 80% of the town was a little bit damaged, or completely damaged, depend. And
Yeah.
because it was very small town in that town, much smaller than it's today. And people went out on the streets. And it's like urban legend, because
Okay.
one later he becomes very famous writer, but he was son of the mayor of the town. And he wrote in his diary, he said all people in town agreed that the cause of the earthquake, what do you think, what can cause the earthquake? I mean, you know it because we know it today.
Tectonic plates,
Yeah,
movements, all
yeah,
of
but
that. Yeah, but
140 years ago, the dragon caused the
oh,
earthquake. And he said that
damn
all
dragons.
people talk about that, and all people were sure that the dragon, because there was all the legend about the dragon who
Uh-huh.
is sleeping under the town. And now, after the earthquake, finally they had strong
Proof.
evidence, so it was fact that dragon is really sleeping under the town, because all damage happened in one line, which is normal.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
happened in
yeah.
one line, and on one side of the line there was like small part of the damage, on the, of course, damage in between, and this on this side was like bigger damage, like this. So they said,
Mm-hmm.
you see, the dragon is under the ground, here is the head, and on this side is the tail. And
No, I
then the
mean
dragon,
it's irrefutable evidence. I mean, I would agree also. There's
of course, everyone
yeah.
agrees
What
about
else
that,
could you think? Yeah.
yeah. So then it's interesting, because on the tour actually we can come to the bell which still exists, and we can see
Mm-hmm.
down actually. There's kind of bar, there are bars, of course that someone will not fall down, but we always joke about that the bars are here, the dragon cannot go up
The
there.
dragon cannot come back up. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's good that you
So
tamed that you guys tamed the dragon. It's important to
so you
have
see,
them,
yeah,
on the.
and you see, so during the tour, we visit the place where dragon still sleeps. Also, of course, we try to be quiet, not to wake him
Yes,
up,
yeah.
because we
Not
don't
to
want that
disturb him.
to
Yeah.
repeat. Yeah, and yeah, that's one of the
Can you
urban
feed the
legend.
dragon?
Can you want the feed? Yes,
Can you
if you
feed the
have,
dragon?
you said feed, or
Feed, yeah. Can you feed the dragon? Give him some food or leave something behind for him. What do dragons
yeah.
eat?
If I may joke this way, if you have a virgin to throw.
So yeah, there you go. Nice, nice. Thank you.
Yeah, we
Thanks for
don't.
sharing that. This was I also didn't know about this dragon story, but yeah, from now on, when I hear about earthquakes, I'll be looking out for
Now you know
I'll
how it
be looking
happens.
out for dragons and maybe have some virgins in stock just to make the
Yeah,
dragon happy. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, nice.
And you know that many people actually come to Croatia because of the Dragons now, especially after this great success of Game of Thrones,
Game of
so
Thrones.
they
Yeah,
come,
yeah, yeah,
of course, to Dubrovnik, which is like the most important place, but also to Split and some other places where this
yeah.
TV show was filmed. So now people know that we had dragons even before Game
Even
of
before
Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the fortress of Klis actually behind Split was used for filming also.
Yeah,
And
and the
yeah,
Russian palace, the basements, yes, they keep the dragons actually there in the TV
yeah,
show, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And I
things
mean,
like that.
it's interesting because Klis was one of the fortresses in present day Croatia that was almost never conquered. I think like once throughout history, it was I think the Ottomans who were actually able
Yeah,
to
yeah,
overcome it, but because it's in such a good defensive position, it withstood enemy attacks for a very very long time, for centuries on end, basically.
yeah. It's on an excellent position. I mean, you have this
Mhm.
like cliff almost, and on the top of the cliff, following the shape of that cliff, actually the fortress was made, which is like
Yeah.
long that kind of shape of the fortress. It's really amazing actually how it was made, and you know that big part of the history of this is connected with Uskoci, that special,
Hmm.
let's say, special
Special
forces,
forces. Yeah, yeah.
like Croatian Spartans, and who were actually raised the same way. They didn't know about the Spartans, but they raised their kids in the same way, because most of the history of Croatia is about that. You know, recently I don't do big
Mhm.
groups, but sometimes. So my colleague invited me to have just to go with kids, on one tour to biggest national park in Croatia, the Plitvice Lakes,
Mhm.
and it was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours of driving time. So at the beginning I said to the kids, oh, we have 2.5 hours, so it's perfect time to talk about history of Croatia. And kids, of course,
Yeah,
they didn't.
yeah.
And I said, but I will tell you short version of history of Croatia. In 7th century, let's say that's like official version, we came on this area, and after that is fight, 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 fight till 91, 95, 1995. So it's like I don't know,
Yeah.
13th, 14th centuries just of fighting, with different enemies,
Invaders. Yeah, yeah.
invaders, yeah, whoever. So we are lucky with this beautiful country, but obviously it was also in the eye
Yeah, it
of
was a
many others.
yeah, yeah, it was a struggle to create it basically, and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, fending off all those invaders who wanted a piece of the beautiful regions and the coast and the wine regions and the plains and the east and all that. So yeah, yeah, I think you gave a pretty good description of how Croatian country came about throughout history.
but you know that's why our country is so beautiful.
Tell me.
What um, usually I say to the guests, I ask them, is of course they think that their country is probably the most beautiful country in the world. So
Hmm.
Croatians, we also think that our country is the most beautiful country in the world. By the way, our national anthem is the beautiful hours. So
Yeah, our
the name
beautiful
says,
country.
yeah,
Yeah,
country, yeah. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
says it's beautiful. But I have a proof that our
Hmm.
country is the most beautiful country in the world. So long, long, long time ago, before nations had countries, one
Hmm.
day God decided that he will give certain land to certain nations. So he organized one meeting one Saturday morning, and he
As
invited
you
all
do.
yes, representatives for all nations to come to visit him. And all representatives came. And then he said, you're Italian. Okay, this big boot, this is your country.
This-
You are, I don't know, English. Okay, this island is yours. You're, I don't know, Swedish, this northern part, this is for you. But Croatian representative, he overslept that meeting. Probably he get drunk or something like that. And he came late in the afternoon.
He
And he
was
was
fighting a
running like
dragon the day before, so
he was fighting the dragon all day. Yeah. So he came late in the afternoon. Oh, sorry, God, I'm late. I'm late. Which part is for us, for Croatians? And God says, I'm sorry, but I gave all land to all nations. But please, please, something small. We are less actually than 4 million people. Please, something small, small. God said, but sorry, I gave all land to all nations. but please, other Croatians will kill me if they will hear that I was late. I
Overslept.
overslept. This is crazy. And then God felt sorry about this poor guy, because he will be killed if he will not give him some land. And then God says, okay, I have one small piece of earth, which I actually plan to keep for myself.
Ah,
And I will give you this paradise on earth.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Well,
why
lucky,
Croatia is the
lucky
most
for us,
beautiful one.
Lucky for us, he was feeling generous that Saturday morning, and so he gave us that part. So
Yep,
we can consider ourselves very lucky, also.
exactly.
Nice, nice. I didn't know about this one. Also, it's
That's another legend,
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Winding back to Zagreb, as far as the architecture is concerned, there is quite a bit of it. It's also rather old and historic, and I've heard actually the town being called Little Vienna because there's a lot of buildings that were built during the reign of the Habsburg Empire, and so they modeled it after Vienna actually.
Yeah, the style which was probably dominant in that time of the history, so 1800s, middle of
Mm-hmm.
1800s, beginning of 1900s. If you go anywhere where was actually Austrian Empire, you can find cities like that. So if you come to
Mm-hmm.
Budapest, also Vienna. Okay, Budapest and Vienna are bigger cities, so everything is
Yeah.
similar, but they have one or two floors more. So
Oh
they're,
yeah.
let's say, a little bit smaller, like 3, 4 floors, and they have 5, 6 floors. And yes, sometimes they call Zagreb as Little Vienna. Also, there is one urban legend about that. They say
Mm-hmm.
that if some Austrian, some noble, if they want to build new building in Vienna, they were afraid what emperor will say about that building. So just for a test, they built a smaller version of that building in Zagreb to see how it will fit the area, and then they build the real one in Vienna if they were happy with this. So that can be the reason of similarity.
Yeah, yeah,
if,
yeah.
if if that
Well,
will be
makes sense
true.
for them, I suppose. Yeah.
Maybe. So Zagreb, the lower town, so-called lower town, which is, let's say, 150 years old, around about that.
Mm-hmm.
That part of the town is actually could look like, let's say, the center of Vienna, because it's the same style. So it's Art Nouveau,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the buildings were built that way. They were all palaces, and it's really beautiful, especially the center of the town and that area that we call Green Horseshoe. It's in the shape of
Mm-hmm.
letter U, and it's green because of the parks. We have range of 8 parks, including the
Mm-hmm.
botanical garden, and all these are interconnected. And you have palaces all around on the both sides, all around, and beautiful hotels and some other things, all built in the same that style of Art Nouveau, and surrounding buildings as well. So it's really really interesting part. Let's say a little bit newer, and as I said before, the upper town, which is much older, and
Mm-hmm.
it's different style. Of course, guests always ask me, because when I said it's around 1,000 years old, of course the buildings that you will see there are not 1,000 years
Yeah,
old,
yeah, yeah.
because 1,000 years ago they built buildings probably from wood, and that wood was replaced, I don't know,
Yeah.
100 times in the meantime, because of the fires, because of the time, because of different reasons. And of course now we have stone made houses which are recently made, but also very old and interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. Nice, nice, nice. Um, how about the Green Horseshoe area? That's almost centrally located, and you said there was 8 parks. It comprises of 8 parks, basically.
Yeah. So you have it's like interconnected. So you have park. There is one street which goes in between. Then it's another park and another park. Then like the corner, and then you
Yeah.
have another park, botanical garden, and then again 3 parks on the parallel. So like 3 parks are parallel, and in between them is botanical garden here and some other things. So you have these parks that you always walkable. You can walk, let's say, 1 hour, and in 1 hour you can walk all around and enjoy these beautiful palaces all around, and these Art
Mm-hmm.
Nouveau style buildings. Almost all of them are Art Nouveau. And also there is one hotel which was built around 100 years ago,
Hmm.
which is part of something that almost all people know about, Orient Express, that famous train line,
Was the
which
yeah, yeah.
at some point also went through Zagreb.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what people know, it's the murder in Orient Express, which is actually fiction story. It's not real story, but Agatha Christie, when she
Agatha
wrote that,
Christie's, yeah, yeah.
yeah, when she
Hercule
wrote that,
Poirot, the famous detective, yeah.
yes, and when she wrote that book first, and now we have many versions of the movies. When she wrote the book, actually, she placed that murder in Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
it happened. It happened 200 kilometers after Zagreb in one small area.
Mm-hmm.
For us, was funny because this is in eastern part of Croatia, which is basically flat. But
Mm-hmm.
in the recent movie, which was filmed a few years ago, and many people probably watched that movie, when murder happened, when they come out from the train, and before they saw the names of these real Croatian cities, which are in that flat part of Croatia, but when they came out, they were surrounded by Alps in the movie, because
Ah, okay.
yeah, probably producers of the movie they thought it would be more impressive, to have
Yeah,
Alps.
bit of artistic liberty,
Yeah, of course, because it's fiction story anyway. But a hotel which is in Zagreb, in
Mm-hmm.
reality, was built for the passengers of
Mm-hmm.
that famous Orient Express. Because in that time, in many places they will stop and spend the night in hotel, and then again next morning they will go in the train and continue the trip. And then another train will come again. Passengers will stay in that hotel. So it's 5-star hotel, and it's really beautiful, beautiful hotel, which,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, was built for the passengers of that
For the
famous.
luxury train, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Might
yeah.
that be the Esplanade Hotel?
Of course,
Yeah,
it. It's Esplanade
yeah, yeah.
Hotel.
I've heard, yeah.
It's one of several 5-star hotels, but probably the most famous and most beautiful hotel in Zagreb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are there any other hotels that might stand out to you that are also like beautiful? Could be a good choice to stay. That the service is good and that they have some kind of tales from history, such as the one with the Orient Express.
Yeah, of course, you have some small places. Of course, you have big chains of hotels like Sheraton and Hilton
Mm-hmm.
and this. But what I for many guests is more interesting maybe to stay more like locally. So you have small local boutique hotels,
Mm-hmm.
modern ones, old ones. You have big choice of you can actually choose whatever. But also, what I suggest to the people if they want to immerse to the local culture even more, maybe it's better to stay. We have a lot of private accommodations. In Croatia, actually, we have more beds in private accommodations than in hotels,
And
and we have many
hotels.
hotels, but even more of these private accommodations that you can rent apartment or something like that. But also you still could, if you want, you can have the contact with these owners, and actually that's also one way that you can really uh, immerse into
Immerse
the
yourself.
local,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, into the local culture, because many people, I have some I know some places, and now they're my friends. Like, I don't know, Four City Windows. That's one of the accommodations. They
Mm-hmm.
prepare breakfast for their guests, but they don't just give them something, on the table. They really prepare some local things, and they also introduce them to the local food culture, whatever, making this breakfast. And they say, because they prepare exactly the things that we eat at home,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and 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 specialties and things which are typical for okay, this part of the world, not just Croatia, maybe because we share many there. If we talk about the food, we have many influences. Like on the coast, Italian influence. Here is more Austrian influence. We have
Yeah.
also Hungarian, Turkish or Ottoman influence. So many things happened here in the history. So we have many things that people are familiar with or not. So they can be new for them, but very
Mm-hmm.
interesting food, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this kind of experience is very interesting. Like, this is something that I keep hearing from my guests also. Like, they want to see what the locals eat, what they do, where do they go, and all of that. So, I mean, if you're staying at someone's house and they're preparing you the typical breakfast of the region, I mean, I think this is something that's really, really, really interesting and something that people would like to experience.
Yeah, that's really some. Of course, you have places that you can go and eat. Also, some local taverns or local small restaurants that you can also try some local specialties. Of course, in different ways. Sometimes they're very traditional. Sometimes they're very modern, but they are based on something
on the
traditional, which is
tradition.
also interesting. It's another perspective, especially if you know some dish. Now you have a chance next day to eat it. I don't know, a little bit differently and different things like that. But as you say, that also if it's that possibility that your host maybe can prepare something for you, this is even better because they have time then to talk to you and
Mhm.
explain maybe some things, maybe give you some advices, about the local place. Of course, it's not for all tourists. Some people like to go to, I don't know, share some big chain of hotels
Oh,
because
there's
they
everything
feel more,
inclusive. Yeah.
yeah, and they feel like, they know everything. So some people are more maybe adventurous. I don't know. They want to try local food and they want to see how what locals do in Croatia. I can tell to all future tourists, we are not extreme anything extreme, I think, in food. We don't
Hmm.
eat any strange things like, I don't know, cockroaches or whatever. And also we don't use some very special spices that you are really not used to them, and
Yeah.
then they could make food so special that you cannot eat that maybe. Or okay, maybe some things, some people will say, okay, then it's not dramatically different, but
Different. Yeah.
again, the flavors, we still are so lucky that we have still a lot of organic food here. So
Hmm.
we are
Hmm.
lucky that we still have these original flavors, and that's why, Anthony Bourdain, when he was still alive,
He
I
came to
believe.
Croatia. Yeah.
Yeah, he was amazed with this grilled fish in Dalmatia, which is
Yeah.
just fish, olive
It's yeah,
oil,
just
and,
fish with
and
some
maybe
olive oil
and
and
maybe
salt.
rosemary and
Yeah.
salt, nothing. And he said he had feeling like there are a million things on it because finally he felt this real fresh flavor of the fish, which is that's okay. In Croatia, we always say that we don't want to spoil the original flavor. Okay,
Yeah.
for some people, they prefer maybe a lot of spices. In Croatia, cuisine is, yes, very simple, but I think very very interesting and so full of flavors, even if it's simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the ingredients themselves are so good that there's basically no need to put in any other things that might change the flavor of the original thing so much. And I mean, for example, as far as grilled fish go, I mean, I'm from Dalmatia. This is something I grew up eating. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, a fresh fish that you can buy off the fish market, for example. By the way, in Zagreb, we have pretty much the biggest fish market in Croatia. You can buy the freshest stuff that was caught literally that morning. And so if you put some of that fish on the grill and you season it with just a bit of salt and rosemary, like you mentioned, and some really good olive oil, it's like an explosion of these flavors in your mouth, and you're feeling like you're eating something new basically every time. And it's just because that it's the ingredients are just so good. And also like the first time that I seasoned the fish on the grill with natural salt that I collected from the rocks that just
Mhm.
there's like a puddle of